Could even have one done today. Got to spill and got to spill all the time. My name is Erma Jill Spirit Divine. I'm here to give you a little short news on today. Reverse ruling. Supreme Court reject Alabama voting map that dilute black voters' power. And I put this out pretty much like last month sometime. I had put this out. The Supreme Court in a surprise decision. They made the decision yesterday. I'm just getting the news today. Ruled on Thursday. That Alabama had dilute the power of black voters. In drawing controversy. Voting map, landmark civil rights law that had been taught to be inferior. So now this go back. Now this gonna go back way to 2020. Citizen voting map. Withdrawn by Republican landmarking. Leaving only one majority black Congress district. In the state with 7 districts and black voting. Age population. That have been grown to about 26%. So the impact of the decision, which required the legislature to draw a second district in which black voters have the opportunity to elect representatives of their choice, will not be limited to Alabama. So Alabama, the state of Alabama, they're not letting them make their choice. They're not letting them make their choice. It is limited to Alabama of making their choice. Violating the Voting Rights Act by drawing a map that dilute black voters, in the state. So black voters of color across the country, the Supreme Court had upheld Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. Section 2, the Voting Rights Act of 1965, prohibit voting practice or procedures that discriminate on the basis of race, color, membership in one of the language group identified in Section 4F2 of the Act. So the Voting Rights Act of 1965 is a landmark, piece of a federal legislation in the United States that prohibit racial discrimination in voting. So we're still looking at Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. It's a general provision, that prohibits state and local government, from imposing voting rules that result in the denial, infringement of rights of any citizen to vote on account of race or color or membership. Now the 15th Amendment, it's the rights of citizens of the United States, to vote shall not be denied, or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of race, color, or provision of previous condition. Like if someone handicapped, in any kind of different race, they're not supposed to discriminate. Everyone have the right to vote. The 15th Amendment guarantees African American women and men, the right to vote. So that's restored the Voting Rights Act to a full strength. Restriction on voting law. More significant than we have seen since the Voting Rights Act was signed into law. And while the Supreme Court of 2013, county, Shelby County versus Holder decision, they decided to help open the floodgate to effort to roll back the voting rights. So back then there was in 2013 they was trying to renew, trying to strengthen the voting rights. They was trying to strengthen. So they were trying to strengthen. They were trying to open it right back up and strengthen the voting right. For everyone have an opportunity to vote. So Voting Rights Conference must once again, meet this moment, as it has in the past. So in 1965 to 1982, to protect voters from discrimination, to provide truly protection, Congress must restore, we have to restore the Voting Rights Act to its former glory and past, you know, for the People Act to set a new standards for open election, free from discrimination. You know, so that's what we have to do. We have to restore this voting right. You know, so everyone have a chance to vote. Everyone have a right to vote. You know, we have to restore. We have to restore our rights back. You know, it must be restored. You know, voting rights. You know, act to its former glory from in the past. We have to restore it back now. You know, so I reverse the Supreme Court order in rejecting Alabama voting map, dilute black voters' power, and I also want to restore the Voting Rights Act. You know, for today in 2023. You know, so we all have the right to vote. You know, race, color, you know, anyone that disabled, everyone have the right to vote. You know, and it's kind of strange that it's limited for Alabama. You know, it's limited for Alabama. We have to restore we have our rights to vote back. You know, because that's what they had to do then. You know, and we have to restore it now. We have to get the strength back. You know, of the voting rights. We have to get our voting rights back. We have the right to vote. You have the right to vote, and then they're not hearing any reversal. You know, everyone have the right to vote. You know, so many our people had fight so hard, you know, for us to vote, and now all of a sudden the table is turning, trying to go back, you know, back in time, you know. But we have to restoring, you know, our Voting Rights Act, you know, and so I reversed the Supreme Court order on rejecting Alabama voting map, you know, and dilute black voters' power. You know, because you're weakening, you know, to black voters' power. That's what you're doing. You're weakening their power. You know, you're taking advantage, you know, of black voters and weakening their power. You know, you're not giving them a chance to vote who they want and see. You know, so that is not fair, you know, to discriminate certain people from vote. You know, and you're changing their mind. You know, you're diluting their own power. You weaken their power. You know, of them to vote. You know, so we must restore our voting rights back. Restore our voting rights back. You know, getting our black power back to vote. You know, so I reverse the Supreme Court order on rejecting Alabama voting map. You know, so we have to restore, you know, this voting, you know, rights act back to 2023. You know, because we see that last time was 2013, then it go all the way back to 1965 to 1982. It's time for it to be restored. You know, it's time for it to be restored for 2023. You know, and they have to remain. You know, because everyone have the right. Everyone have the right to vote. You know, so that's all the news I have for you today, and I see y'all on next video.